Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making this cute little Freddy. His body is all one piece, and then we will have to do a little bit of embroidering for all the little extras. For this video I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 10 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything. So grab your yarn and let's get started. All right, we are going to begin at the top of the hat, and you can start your rounds any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'm going to be making a knot with the loop on the end. So what I do is I fold my yarn in half. I'm going to grab up at the top to start my loop. Wrap that around my finger, down, around and through to make a knot. I'm going to pinch that loop, and then I'm just going to slide this knot up so that my loop is just a little bit bigger than my hook. And I'm going to insert my hook, grab the yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that is not going to count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 8 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you're going to pull on that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we're going to do 8 increases. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 16. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Increase 3 and 4 in the same stitch. Increase 5 and 6. Increase 7 and 8. Increase 9 and 10. Increase 11 and 12. Increase 13 and 14. And our last increase 15 and 16. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3, and then repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, increase, 20 and 21, 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. Our next row, we are going to be going in the back loops. So if you've never done that before, I'll just quickly show you. So generally, when you're crocheting, you go underneath that stitch, under both the V's. And for the back loop, we're going to come down into the V's and just out the back. And that will kind of change the direction of our work so it goes down instead of across. So for row 4, in these back loops, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. So down into the V, catching that back stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So it should be starting to kind of come down. And you should be able to see all these little ridges of stitches. Row 5, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Our next row, we're going to be going in the front loop. So just like when we did the back loops, only this time, instead of going down and through the back loop, we're going to come up and just catch that front loop. So we'll do all the front loops. We'll leave these back loops, and that's very important because when we do the rest of the body, we're going to be going into the back loops. So for row 6, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around in the front loops. So into that stitch, up through the middle of the V, just catching that front loop. 1, increase, 2 and 3, and repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, and then I'll just show you what it should be looking like on the other side. So you should be seeing these little back loops, a nice little line of them all the way around. All right, still in the front loops. 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, increase, 20 and 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, increase, 26 and 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, increase, 32 and 33, 34, and our last increase, 35 and 36. And then we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. We're going to tie that off, but leave yourself quite a long tail because we're going to cheat and use that after we're done stuffing the hat. So if it's like that, we're going to use it to kind of pull the hat down. So leave yourself quite a bit of a tail. Okay, now you're going to grab your skin color. And we're going to attach this yarn. You can attach yours any way you're used to. I'll be doing my knot with the loop on the end. You want to make sure you're going the same way you were just crocheting. So I was crocheting this with my work facing towards me. So I want to make sure I'm crocheting here. I don't want to accidentally flip it this way and start crocheting from the inside with my work going away from me, because then I'll be going inside out. So make sure it's facing towards you. You're going to go in that first back loop. Attach your yarn. And we're going to just do a chain one. And this isn't going to count as one of our stitches. So for row 7 in the back loops, we're going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. So starting in that same stitch you attached, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you notice, I'm flipping that brim of that hat down so we can see those stitches really easily. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 8, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 9, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 10, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and on our 24th stitch we're going to stop and leave those 2 loops on our hook because we're going to change color now. So I'm going to cut my old color so I don't accidentally cut my new one. So this is going to be the first stripe, and we're just going to tie our new color onto our old color nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. Then you're just going to pull that new color through those last 2 loops of your last stitch of the previous row. So for row 11, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and again on our 24th stitch we're going to change color, so go in, pull out those 2 loops, and then we're going to cut that yarn and grab our next color. So this will be our second stripe, and again you're just going to tie your new color to your old color nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And then you're just going to bring that new color through those last 2 loops of your last stitch of the previous row. And for row 12, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and again on your 24th stitch, go in, grab your yarn, pull up, leave those 2 loops on your hook, cut your yarn if you're going to, and now you're going to grab your pant color, and again, tie that on to your old color, nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And then you're going to grab that new color, pull it through those last 2 loops of your stitch of your previous row. Row 13, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 14, we're going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. All right, we're going to take our hook out now because we are going to add the eyes. So grab those and get those ready. All right, so what you want to do is you want to find your back center first, and I'm going to use where I ended my hat as my back center. Flip it around, and then we're just going to find the center between our rows of our skin color. So we'll be going 2 down, and we got 2 rows underneath. So right there in the middle, you're just going to find a stitch. You're going to want a hole on each side of your pin. You're going to go over to that first hole beside your pin and you're going to count over 3. 1, 2, 3, and in that third hole you're going to put your first die. Same thing on the other side. 1, 2, 3, and in that third hole. And then put your backs on. And now we're also going to add a little bit of stuffing. So we're going to stuff it about 2/3 full. You want it almost full, so you don't have to add a bunch at the very end. But you also want to be able to do the last couple rows without catching on your stuffing and it being in your way. So I'm going to do about that much. Let's get our hook back in. And for row 15, we're going to be going in the back loops again. So remember, you're going to go down through the V and out. And we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 16. So 1 and a decrease for 2, 3, and a decrease for 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, and a decrease for 14, 15, and a decrease for 16. And for row 16, we are going to do 8 decreases all the way around. So 1 decrease, 2 decreases, 3 decreases, 4 decreases, 5 decreases, 6 decreases, 7 decreases, and 8 decreases. And then you're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, tie that off, leaving yourself quite a bit of a tail in case you want to bring it up for a hanger or something later on. Cut that off. I'm going to take my stitch marker out now, and let's finish stuffing up the bottom. So you want to have it quite firm, but you also don't want to have the bottom rounded out. So you want to kind of get in as much in the top as you can. And then you're going to start going to the sides. So just kind of making a corner up to those front loops that you did. before you started the bottom. So you're just going to kind of feel around as you're going. If you feel a little pocket where there's no stuffing, you'll just stick it in that side. And I just turn mine as I go, feeling around. I think she's just about full here. If it starts rounding out really bad, you've got enough. You don't want to add any more. Maybe a little bit more here. All right, that should do it. And remember, if you've done any of these other ones of mine, I'm not finishing up the bottom till the end because we're going to be doing all our details coming up through the bottom. So we don't have to tie on the outside and put our ends in. Okay, we are going to start by making the hands. So one hand is going to be your skin color. So let's do that one first. You're going to come up the bottom, and you're going to come up just under the center of your eye, in between the row of green and red. So see, I'm just kind of up in the very middle of the eye. Pull enough yarn through and leave a little bit that you can tie on the bottom. And we're going to go backwards around this one stitch 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and then on our 4th one, down and out the bottom. Give that a tie. And then cut those ends. I cut mine fairly short. And then we're going to do the other hand. And I decided to use a quite different shade or tone of brown so it would stand out. And don't forget, I'll have all the colors listed down in the description if you need to check those out. And this one, we're going to come up the same way we did this one. So right in the center of the eye, between, let me just look at that one, between the green and the red. Leave enough for tying on the bottom. But this time, instead of going around the stitch like this, we're going to come down and over to the next stitch on the next row. So it's going to be on an angle. And then we're going to do 4 times around. So 1, 2, 3, and then on our 4th one, come out and then tie those up. And now you're going to just grab some black, thread that on for the feet. Come up through the bottom, and this time we're going to be just above our front loop stitches and kind of in the center of the hand. And we're going to go to the inside this time around this stitch 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and then on our 4th one, we're going to go down to the other side, same thing, in the hole just above our front loop ropes and centered with the hand. And 4 times around the stitch going towards the center. So 1, I don't judge my string very good. 2, 3, and then on our 4th one, down out the bottom. And then we're going to give that a tie. Cut that off. And now we're going to do the little knives on his hands. And I'm just taking the lightest gray I have. I really, really wanted to use Christmas tinsel, but I thought that might be hard for everyone to find. So I just went with a really light gray. And I'm just separating my yarn so I have one thin little strand. They do have metallic thread you could try. And also, if you have embroidery thread, that will actually work better. So I'm just going to thread that on. And I will tell you, I did this about 10 times before I was happy. So don't worry if your first time you don't get it and you have to do it a couple of times. So we're going to come up the middle. We want to try and go on the very edge of his hand, kind of in the middle, catching some of that thread so it doesn't move around on you. So on the very edge, in the middle of his hand, leave some thread for tying, and then in between the next red and green stitch, then you're going to come over again, come down just a little bit in the middle of the hand. Remember, you got to do 4 of them, so you don't want to go too far. Oops, that does not look right, but okay, let's do that. Now we're going to come in the top, somewhere right here. I'll show you the one I have finished, so you can have a look of how it turned out. I have a feeling this one isn't going to be quite as good. Now we're going to come down lower. We just want to try and get them even, and if you can catch a piece of the yarn in the stitch instead of going in the hole, that will help it stay in place. So our last one will come down to the bottom. And then where? That one, now that one's a little long, so I'm just going to pull that a little tighter, and then just catch a piece of this red here, red and brown. So I'm actually going in stitches this time. That one's going to be really long. Actually, I'm going to redo that one. Sorry. But there, if you make a mistake, that's just what you'll do. So this one has to come a little closer to match the rest. And then wherever you think this one matches. And then out. And let's cross our fingers that it worked. Not really, but when you do pull them out the bottom, don't pull it too hard. This is very delicate as far as, I'm going to try going in all my pieces here and then just pull them and wiggle, and that might help. So for the one that I did a million times, it looks like this. If you want to pause the video and just look and see where I went in. And then when you're happy with your little blades, you can just tie that off loosely at first and then a little tighter as you go. Give that a cut. Now we're going to do the same thing with a piece of black for the mouth. We're just going to separate our strands, or use embroidery thread if you have it. Thread that on. Come up the bottom, and we're just going to come one stitch over from where our eye is. Leave a little bit of thread for tying on the bottom. You're going to come down a row and over. So you're kind of in the center on the bottom between the green and the pink. And then you're going to go over, one hole over from the eye, or you'll have one hole in between your two mouth corners. And I probably should catch a stitch there because it looks like that hole's really big and it's going to want to pull over. And then down out the bottom. And then we'll give that a tie. And a cut. I think let's get rid of this end before we go around and do the little marks on his face. So thread on your hat tail. And you're gonna, this is a little uneven, so I'm just gonna catch that first and go around a couple times to even that out. And then I'm going to go down on the back side in a couple of stitches, just so I get to the side of the head. I'm trying to think how I did this now. So you're going to go in right where the pink and the brown meet. You're going to come up through the very center. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're not squishing his body together this way. So you're going to come up. You're going to come back down. And I think I went back out. Right in the back somewhere, close to the center. And that is just going to pull that top of that hat down if you need it to, if your stuffing's kind of made it go up. I could add a little extra stuffing in there, I see. There we go, that looks a little better. So just pull that center down, and then it won't be a big bump. It'll be nice and flat. And then you're going to tie that to one of your stitches, a brown one if you can. And then just hide it into the body somewhere, trying to hide the knot that you just made. I'm going to come out the bottom. Give that a cut. Now for the little marks on his face, you're just going to get some embroidery thread, or again, you're going to split up some yarn. I've already stolen off this one a few times, so I only have 2 left instead of 4. And this is just kind of whatever you feel like doing. My suggestion, if you want to do it like me, is just pause it every time I do one. I'm going to try and copy that one as I'm going. So as long as I have the front kind of how my other version is, I'm just going to kind of wing it going around the back. So come up the middle. I'm going to start on the stitch right at the bottom of the eye on the outside. Whoops. Leave some string for tying. And then it looks like I went up and over 2 stitches. And then I'm going to come at the bottom of the eye. And then just come around this stitch. And then I'm going to come up right beside the center of the eye. Your main goal here probably is to be like one goes this way, one goes that way. And now I'm going to come up and over a stitch. And I'm going to come down right in the center stitch of my mouth, the hole there. And I'm just going to go over a little bit and straight across. And this looks a little closer, but looks like I went diagonally over to here. And right under the eye. Oh, this one is maybe too long. So I just pulled that one and that looks a little better to me. And I'm just going around a stitch here and then over. And I'm going to come up here somewhere. I'm 1 stitch over from where I was just at the bottom of the other one. Down. Now I'm just going anywhere, so you just go anywhere. So this one went this way, so I want this one to go that way. Long, short, just whatever you want. You're probably not really going to look at the back anyway. So that one went that way, so I want to go up and over. Yeah, I'm just going wherever now. Just so we can get around to the other side. That one will go that way. Where did I end here? So I need 1 stitch coming, maybe if I can fit 2 stitches in there. 1 this way, and then 1 coming backwards. Well, that's gonna have to be here. Okay. And then out for tying. And then if you do pull one too hard, just get your needle in there and pull it out. Ooh, I just made it. Tie that and give it a cut. Now we're going to close up the bottom, but we want to hide all our little stitches, so I'm just going to take a little bit of stuffing, give them a bit of a push there, and I'm just going to cover them with a small amount, just tucking it inside the bottom edge there so we don't see those anymore. Thread your end on. And then we're just going to weave in and out of the top loop of our last row of stitches. Try not to catch that little bit of stuffing you just added. And then once you're all the way around, give it a pull. So it's nice and tight and closed. And then just go into your next stitch and tie a knot. come up the center and out the center of the head. You may have to smush him back around a bit after all this. And there you go. There's our little Freddy. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and send me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends. Take care, be safe, and happy crocheting.